Okay, third matchup. We have perennial terrible but redeeming himself, Andy McDavitt, and perennial terrible and continuing to be so, Teddy Foley. Foley's actually projected
Hold
to
on.
win,
In fairness, the draft switching around that ruined his whole season.
yeah. He actually scored really high. He's just been getting bad matchups, and I think that ended up getting Cummings-Welker, who's been completely irrelevant. So for Cummings, I mean he's been well, but Welker's been irrelevant. Anyways, matchups here. We were kind of looking through it before, and I was like trying to pick what was going on, and really, you guys have a ton of talent on the bench too. This is definitely going to be one where whoever loses is probably going to see that they could have done something to win, which is what I like to have to my opponents. I'm glad that one of you gets to feel that way. So quarterbacks is Matt Ryan versus Cleveland. He's at home. He's way better at home. Cleveland's defense is pretty solid though. Versus Brady, who's at home and playing Detroit's defense. Our offense has been playing really well. Brady was a little shaky first half last week, and then had a near perfect quarterback rating in the second half. But Detroit's defense is legit. I think I have to give the slight edge to Matt Ryan, just because they can't really run the ball, and he's at home. But I want Brady to score 1,000,000 points.
See, I'm going in a different direction. I think Tom Brady is the one who has the edge here because I don't think Jonas Gray's gonna. I don't think there's a running game this week. I think it's Shane Green, and I think it's more so Gronk and LaFell that are happening this week. So I think the offense is going through Tom Brady. Where Matt Ryan, it's actually the same story, except he just doesn't do nearly as well as Tom Brady with that, with the world on his shoulders. So I'm giving it to Tom Brady the edge here, and that's actually what Yahoo's saying too.
Yeah, I actually might flip the script here because I was thinking they're not going to be able to run the ball, but we have a really good receiving back who I have and maybe should start in my flex. Because Vereen I can see getting a lot of play because you cannot run on this defense. They are very good. Then the number one wide receiver matchup is Demaryius Thomas versus, I'm going to say, I guess we'll just go with LaFell. They're all pretty close here. Like we said, Brady's going to be throwing the ball a lot. LaFell is the third option, which actually might be good for him. You've got to think that Detroit's going to be keen on Gronk, which doesn't really mean much for Gronk's production. I'm sure he'll still score and play great. But LaFell is going to be covered by the third best guy, and definitely single coverage. So I can see him breaking out versus Demaryius Thomas, where it doesn't matter. Demaryius Thomas is going to have a huge game, way better than LaFell, no matter what.
Don't care. Thomas has the edge here.
Then Macklin for Andy, who's been the number one guy there until Matthews has shown his face, which is really split up, versus Mike Wallace at Denver. I can see Wallace having the better game here because Macklin, like I said, is losing a lot of touches. And Wallace, I think Denver is, even though Miami's defense is pretty good, Denver is going to be pissed after the way they played the last 2 weeks. And they're going to have to air it out a ton to keep pace with Denver. So Mike Wallace is the guy to do that.
So I guess when you look at these names, you look at all the year-to-date points and all of that, there's no question that Macklin, in that context, gets the check mark. What I don't like is I feel when I'm looking at when I watched Red Zone, when I looked at that game, it feels like Macklin's getting by barely with Sanchez, and it feels like any week he can turn into that average receiver again. Where, like you said, Mike Wallace playing Denver, he is the number one guy over there. He's certainly not used probably in the best way that he can. They don't throw downfield a lot. I kind of actually feel like this one's close to a wash for me. I think Macklin has more upside. There's no doubt about that. But I think in this game, they're actually pretty close for me.
Okay, then we have Denard Robinson at Indy. Indy's run defense is terrible, as we all know, after seeing Jonas Gray destroy them. And Robinson has been on the upswing big time. Versus LaShawn McCoy, who, well, I guess I should probably go versus Forte, because McCoy is actually not the number one. So versus Forte. Yep. Forte is at home versus Tampa Bay, whose rush defense is also not very good. He gets the ball a ton. I like Robinson. This 11 they're projecting him, I think, is crap. He should be at 17, maybe more. Just because he switched positions. Like, just look at his numbers, the opportunities, the matchup. Yahoo's stupid. But I still like Forte because he's Forte.
Yeah, there's no. I mean,
it's a much closer than. It's not going to be this is almost a 10-point difference they're looking at.
Forte is averaging about 20 points. There's no doubt in my mind that he can always get that. But when you look at Denard Robinson, last 4 weeks, 19, 12, 17, and 18, and they're playing against a terrible fucking run defense. So I think this one's much closer than it should be, or on paper here. But I'm going to give the edge to White. Sorry, Forte. But this is much closer than it says here on paper, in my
Closer
opinion.
than the experts think.
What the hell do they know?
Lee Corso. Then we got Forsett versus McCoy. Forsett's been playing great. He's at New Orleans, another not great defense on Monday night. I like Baltimore in general in big games. They play well versus LaShawn McCoy, playing Tennessee, who also just got shredded in the running game by Le'Veon Bell, who is unfortunately on a bye week for this guy over here. I actually like McCoy to have his best game of the season, but still suck.
Sure. I mean, who the fuck knows?
And I think Forsett has a better game.
I don't know. McCoy has actually been pretty steady as far as the points he's been getting, not anywhere near who he's supposed to get, which they're projecting 16 and a half. And I don't know why they think that. He just never, ever produces that. I think it's more in line probably where Forsett is being projected. So I also think this is close to a wash. But, I guess whoever gets the most touch, I feel like one of them is going to have more touchdowns than the other. I don't know who it will be, but that's going to be the one. I guess if I had to pick, I'd pick Forsett here.
Same. Then we have Gates versus Bennett. This is like the top tier of the second tier of tight ends going at each other, both with pretty decent matchups. But I like Gates more just because they're not throwing the ball deep in San Diego anymore. I don't know what's going on with Rivers, but I think Gates has really turned back into that safety blanket. And who knows, like both teams have shown that their quarterbacks can crap the bed and everything can be terrible, but I just like Gates. It's going to be really close.
So I actually don't like either of these guys this week at all. I'd rather have the waiver wire pickups that everyone's been taking off this week. So I just don't think they're either good plays. I'm not saying they don't have. I think Bennett has the better matchup, but I don't think that either of them are good plays this week. Gates, I know he's been doing well, but if you look at all his stats, it's a big wave. He started high, went extremely low, was at high for a period of time. Now he's back down at that trough there. I think he just stay there for another couple of weeks, particularly going against St. Louis. I think they're both bad matchups because Cutler's just going to go to his wide receivers. I wouldn't play either of these guys this week, but if you want to give me a check mark, I'd give it to Bennett.
All right, then we have Alshon Jeffrey versus Roddy White. I absolutely love Alshon Jeffrey this week. I think he's going to be one of the top wide receivers, playing him in FanDuel. He's reasonably affordable. The offense came alive in Chicago last week. They're at home versus a bad defense. He's the number 2 wide receiver, so he's not going to be doubled as often. I mean, it's difficult there. And Roddy White, he's, I guess, the number 2 also behind Jones. But I just don't like him as much. Cleveland's defense, I think, is considerably better than Tampa's. I like Jeffrey a lot.
For me, Jeffrey and Marshall, I don't care who you want to put first. Those guys are just, they may not produce every single week, but they produce enough, a lot, that it's worth always playing them. I guess in this situation, so if you want me to pick Jeffrey and White, I'm going Jeffrey. But it's McDavitt, and there's a very, very strong chance Jeffrey's going to shit the bed because ODB is on the bench.
Yes.
And that's what he did last week. He flopped him around. Jeffrey went off. So, Murphy's Law. Beckham's going to go off. My only hope is this video changes his mind. He puts Beckham in, and Cutler goes off with him.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at my FanDuel, I was like, how has Beckham been doing? And I think his best game of the season was versus Dallas. Yes. So he's already played Dallas once, and it wasn't his breakout game. It was kind of the game after.
Beckham is on along the lines of who did we just talk about? Denard Robinson. Okay. Waiver wire pickup, fantastic the last 4 or 5 weeks, solid and putting up numbers every single week. And in a season that's only 16 weeks long, and for us it's really only 13 or 14 weeks. That's more than a trend. So those are solid pickups.
I am surprised. Not playing Tate, though, Andy. His new home.
He's the best. He might be the best running back this league has seen in at least the last decade.
Yeah, in a generation.
I am so pissed I didn't get him in the 10th, 15th round whenever he got him. But hey, Danny's got him, and he sees talent. He's a scary judge of talent.
I'm
So
surprised Cleveland didn't trade him for the rights to Peterson.
that would have been that might have been the only move that would have been worth it.
Sometimes the right move is to cut the franchise running back and let him go to free agency. Then some defense. Chicago's defense could be high end. We're going long here. I'm going to stop doing these kickers and defenses.
Miami for me gets the edge. Let's go quick. Miami for me.
Miami for you. They're at Denver. No way. Chicago.
Oh shit. Yeah, they're both terrible options there. I don't like either of them. So they both suck. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. In this, I think that top to bottom, except for quarterback, where I give Foley the edge, top to bottom, I think Andy's team is better and is going to win.
Agree.
Okie dokie.